Hi, I'm Susanne Madsen. Welcome to this whiteboard session on how to have challenging conversations. I invite you to think about the last time you had a challenging conversation. What happened? How did you react? Did you get what you wanted? And what made the conversation challenging to you? I've written up some characteristics here behind me about what makes a conversation challenging. First of all, there is a lot at stake. It's important, Secondly, there are opposing opinions. You view the situation differently. And thirdly, there are emotions involved. You have emotion about the topic, and the other person also has emotions about this topic you're about to discuss. So what are some tips on how to get better at having these conversations? Well, first of all, it's about creating and generating self-awareness. Awareness about how you tend to respond and react in these situations. Because you can only really change the behavior that you are aware of. So, do you tend to avoid these conversations? Do you have difficulties expressing your needs? Or perhaps you're quite forceful and you may even become aggressive in stating your own needs during a conversation like this. Secondly, I recommend that you really prepare for the conversation. Preparation is everything. We practice this with the leaders who come to our programs. You may think I'm too busy to really prepare. I'll just figure it out once I'm in the conversation. But preparation helps you to really think through the scenario, even if, you won't know it all, but at least you can try to anticipate. First of all, think through what you would ideally like the outcome to be. What do you really need from this conversation? Why is it important to you? Perhaps you can think through some likely pitfalls beforehand. And then it's very important that you turn the tables and see the situation from the other person's point of view. How is the other person likely to see the situation? What are they likely to be concerned about? What are their needs likely to be? Thinking through it in advance can be a great, great advantage. Thirdly, listen first. And this goes back to Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where he says, seek first to understand before being understood. So it really means that you come to the table with an open and collaborative mind, listening to the other person and actively asking them, how do they view the situation? What would they like to get from this conversation? And what are their concerns? Then, of course, it's important that you state your needs afterwards. What are your concerns? What ideas do you have? How do you see a possible solution? Yeah, you're aiming to have this dynamic, collaborative conversation where you stay open-minded, where you avoid being accusational, defensive. Now, the last point I've written is to react rather than respond. And that actually goes back to this point about not being overly emotional. Emotions are okay. As we said a moment ago, challenging conversations are emotional. You are emotionally invested, and that's okay. But you want to avoid to react and to get overly angry, or to really be overly fearful. Let's say the other person wants to impose a change on you that you are unhappy with. The problem with reacting is when you have these knee-jerk reactions, you really become the anger, you become the fear, and you lose the ability to think clearly because your attention goes from the prefrontal cortex back to your limbic system, the fight or flight brain. So if you find yourself being triggered, or in other words, being overly emotional, try to calm down. try to take a slow, deep breath. And it can also help to say to yourself, I feel emotional right now. That can actually help you to regulate yourself. It might also be appropriate in the conversation that you express that to the other person. It's perfectly okay and professional in most cases to say, oh, bear with me a moment, because I actually feel emotional right now. So as we said, you want to avoid being going into a defensive mode or a mode where you accuse somebody else. Thank you for listening, and good luck.